everybody who hasn't been before, and this is our second Doyenne meetup. I'll just give a brief introduction of what it's all about, just for the ones who haven't been here before. So we are looking to try and build a really good network in the Newcastle area and in the northeast of women in tech, because as we all know, we're pretty outnumbered by the boys, and some of you might feel it in your job roles, some of you might not, but it's definitely a problem that's around. I know that like people who work in our office know that there's absolutely no female engineers, which is a bugbear, to say the least. So it's really nice to just have a really good place where we can all come together once a month, catch up on everything, and just really start a really good network. So we've got some new sponsors this meetup, which we did not have last time. So we have Ronald James, who are very kindly sponsoring us for our meetups, and Simply Brightside as well. So we really like to thank them because they buy all the food and beers. And so I will take it away with our introductions. So first off, we have Jully Kim. You can see her in the corner, but you'll be able to see a lot more of her. Jully is the Director of Engineering Programs at Zendesk, which is very exciting, and we're really pleased to have her with us. So she's going to take us through a talk on influence and leadership, and hopefully give us a lot of motivation. So I will let you take it away now, Jully. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Fantastic. Can you all hear me? Thumbs up if you can. Yes. Okay. Share my screen. That didn't work. Try again. Okay, now can you all see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, it is so awesome to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm super excited to share with you. My name is Jully Kim. I'm the Director of Engineering Programs at Zendesk. I'm coming from San Francisco, so happy morning or evening to all of you. And here's a little... No? Oh, there we go. So here's a quick introduction of myself, and the best way that I could think of introducing myself was looking through my Instagram. So here I am, I work at Zendesk, and this is the Zendesk donut wall for the win. Zendesk is a customer service experience platform, and we're a omni-channel support for talk, email, chat, and forums, and growing by the day. I graduated from UC Berkeley. My undergrad's in chemistry and I have a master's in education. I worked in technology for a number of years, maybe too long. A number of those years was with Will over at Turnitin. I'm certainly a foodie. This is my favorite dessert from Sydney, Australia. From Blackstar Cafe, it's the watermelon cake. It's actually sliced with watermelon in there. It's amazing. One of my superpowers is I make barbecue ribs, and if we were doing this in person, maybe I'd actually have a chance to bring some, but you'll just have to enjoy them through the interwebs. And I absolutely believe that culture is an important part of business success, and I spend a lot of my time both at work and in speaking engagements trying to share my personal stories. I believe that our personal stories are really how we influence where we work and how we work. I happen to also be the mom of 2 beautiful daughters. So, I hear this all the time, and you probably too. Jully, you need to be more fill in the blank. Technical, confident, bold, authoritative, lean in more. Can I tell you the number of promotions I've been passed up because I'm not technical enough? And my reaction is like, what does that even mean, right? I'm like, okay, I'll go do that, whatever that means. And then I'm like, wait, what does that actually mean? What? Be more technical, like what does that even mean? And I spent a lot of time really milling on this because I was like, there's got to be a solution for this. And so after a number of conversations with my managers and with my peers, I really boiled down that what they were talking about was influence. And when I discovered that, I'm like, okay, I can work on this influence thing, okay? And I wanted to share some tips and thoughts that I've sort of collected over a couple of years of thoughts thinking about this, and hopefully it can be helpful for you guys as you think about influence and leadership in your workspace. So, why does influence matter? You have something unique to share with the world. We all know that. We all know it about ourselves. There's something really unique about the way that we work, about the way we think, about how we contribute to our workplace. And without it, we can't have impact. That's obvious. We know that too. But the thing that's not so obvious is that there are times that we actually need the help of other people, and we have to convince them to help us along the way. And that's why influence is really important. And I think, and I venture to say that especially for women and for more junior roles, this idea of really being influential is super valuable to think about their growth in your career. So, if we know the components of influence, we can become better influencers, right? When we think of influence, well, at least when I thought of influence, it can feel like a very mystical topic. Like, oh, be a better influencer. Yeah, and it's so fuzzy out there, but there's some actual real research on how this can be a real skill that you can focus in on and will develop over time. So, Amy Cuddy, Harvard Business School professor, social psychologist, apologies, I'm getting over cold. She wrote this book, Presence, and she says that people quickly answer two questions when they first meet you. Shocking, right? But actually not shocking when you think about it. One, first, can I respect this person? And that has to do with competence. We'll talk more about that in a sec. And the second one is, can I trust this person? And that has to do with trustworthiness. There's actually a lot of research about competence and trustworthiness in history. Has to do with sort of salespeople, teaching, parenting. But I actually want to stretch this definition for competence and trustworthiness into our definition of influence and see if those things can help us here. So, before we make up definitions about what they are, let's actually find out what the definitions for these words are. And normally I would have probably looked up this in Merriam-Webster, but that's probably outdated, so here we are, dictionary.com. Competence is having suitable or sufficient skill, knowledge, experience, or some purpose, if you're properly qualified. So this has to do with sort of the skill set of a person, right? And trustworthiness has to do with the reliance on the integrity, ability, and surety of a person or thing. So it's about the human or the person who's actually delivering the message. We'll drill into both of these together. So, competence, I'd say, it actually breaks down into three areas. One is your personal conviction, one is direct experience, and one is borrowed experience. And we'll talk about each one of them separately. So personal conviction has to do with your passion or energy. I know this to be true or right, or this is really important. So normally when I give this presentation, there's an activity where we pair up into groups and we convince each other of our favorite restaurant, because everybody loves talking about food anyways. But if I were to convince you or influence you to come try out my favorite taco truck, I would convince you with, I know this to be true and right. This taco truck is the most important place that you need to check out on Friday night. It's that personal conviction of what is it that you really believe is important. The second one has to do with direct experience. Your resume. Have you been successful before? Have you failed? Which is just as important as if you've been successful. How many times have you experienced doing this? Have you done something similar? And your credibility for having that direct experience is so valuable for whether or not you can be influential. So thinking through and creating the stories around what you've done in the past, even how you failed and what you learned, how many times you've done this, can really build a story of when you're trying to be influential about the topic. But when I'm mentoring, particularly my mentees, they have this problem. It's a catch-22. I don't have the experience to try to convince someone to do something. I haven't actually done it before. So how do I get the direct experience experience to be able to do the experience, right? It's like you need the experience to get the job, or you need the job to get the experience, right? So what do? Well, there's actually a lot of borrowed experience. Well, how well do you know your current situation? And the research that others have done it before you, so you borrow their experience. And this is kind of a common thing for us, right? We use Yelp, or Glassdoor, or Amazon reviews, or Google reviews, and we take other people's experience and we apply it to our own, and we can use that as part of our story. But those stories are only as good as how credible those research sources are, right? So if I find some interesting website and it says 5-star review for, this restaurant, but it's the only one and it's kind of obscure review, I'm just gonna be like, I'm not really sure about that. But if I see something like, 4-star review, and it's got like 7,000 reviews, and we're like, oh, that's kind of a credible source. So I can actually use that and borrow that experience at my own. So as you think about what are the credible resources in your own areas, you can think of meetups, conferences, books, blogs, influencers in your space. Make sure you follow them, LinkedIn them, understand what the current landscape of the thing that you're trying to influence about. So it actually does take some research, but connecting both your personal conviction, direct experience if you have that, and your borrowed experience, you can actually put together a whole story about your complete skill set. Great. So the next section that I want to talk about has to do with trustworthiness. Now, trustworthiness is such a really vague thing. How do you build trustworthiness? It's a quality that if you see it, you understand it, right? And so I've done some effort to try to break apart how to build more trustworthiness, but ultimately it's really whether or not you have that quality of really being honest and open and capable. And we'll talk about some of those qualities here. So as we're going through this, it has to do with personal relationship, your body language, the proximity, your frequency, and integrity of yourself as a person. So, personal relationship. If I'm trying to influence someone, it's really important that I actually have a personal relationship. If I send someone an email and I say, hey, can you do this thing for me, and they actually don't know who I am, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to actually try to do something for me. But if it's a good friend of mine, someone that I have a good acquaintance with, someone that I regularly respect and meet up with, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to actually be open to my message and actually complete the task that I requested. So things like coffee one-on-ones, actually saying hello in the morning, surprising how many engineers don't say good morning. Maybe it's just a trend in the US, but shocking, where I have to just say out loud, hello, good morning, I'm here, how was your day? There's the accessibility piece, right? The 24-hour turnaround for email and Slack, really letting people know that you're connected to the message. Knowing your audience and what's important to them. Again, when we do that sort of Yelp exercise that I would have normally done, many times people who've never met before and are doing the exercise together, as they're thinking about how to convince their partner about where to, about their favorite restaurant, they might ask things like, oh, do you have any food allergies? Do you have children? Do you have a preference for bars or quiet spaces? So understanding your audience is really valuable, right? I work with a number of executives, and everyone knows they're not that interested in the nitty-gritty details. They want to know what's the problem, what are we doing to get there, and what's the result. And I try to avoid this part, but also the date on them when we're going to deliver. But really thinking about what is the audience interested in, and really tailoring the message toward that audience. And there's also the Ben Franklin effect, which I think is such a fascinating psychological phenomenon, that when folks do a favor for you, they're more likely to be open to messages in the future. So the best way to get someone to like you is actually to ask them for a favor. Surprising, right? So sometimes I'll use this in reverse. When I join a new company or I meet with a group of people, I'll say, hey, can you help me set up the chairs? Or this door open for me? Can you do this task? And when they are open to the favor, they're actually more willing and more open to you as a person in terms of personal connection. So, as a personal experiment, I encourage you to consider that one. And then also your reputation. What do people say about you when you're out there? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Also your body language, facial expressions, body movements, posture, gestures, eye contact, touch, space, voice. I was in a stand-up at a previous company, and I had my team lead, who was sitting kind of closer to the monitor as we were looking through our JIRAs, had his arms crossed, and he said, "Anybody who needs me, I'm open for code reviews." And without even turning around, the rest of his team was behind him, and he was just... And I happened to know this team lead, and he was actually being incredibly honest. He was actually, in that moment, offering himself as for code reviews for that day. But as I thought about the experience of the rest of the team who saw his reaction and his experience of sharing his and volunteering, I don't think anyone actually believed him that he was actually going to be willing and helpful. And so we had a coaching opportunity there. It's important to face the person you're looking at, point your toes in the direction that you're looking at, make eye contact. The Center for Body Language, surprisingly enough, exists. Talks about the box as a trustworthy stance. And here in the US, we're in the middle of a lot of political climates, and you'll see a lot of politicians do this. But the box stance is hands open, forward, and within maybe a 1 foot box in front of you. So you'll sort of see folks doing this. A lot of teachers do this. And it's a sense of trustworthiness that this measuring box presents to you. And I'm not suggesting that you sort of do the dance like a clown and try to expect that you're going to get some kind of trustworthiness as a result. But it's important to know that even the way that we communicate through our body language contributes to the way that we can be influential. So proximity. This is really important too. It seems like such a minor thing and not always possible, but sitting closest to the person you want to influence. So I actually learned this tip from a manager many years ago, but particularly as a woman, and oftentimes the only woman in a room, I will find the most or highest ranking person in that room, or the most influential person in that room, and purposely go pick the seat next to them. So when we have board meetings or when we have executive staff meetings, I always sit next to the CEO, or I always sit next to the SVP. And part of it is sort of a chit-chat of hey, how's it going? And then getting to know that person. That wouldn't be possible if I sat on the other side of the room, far in the corner. I always make an effort to be closest to the person that I want to influence. Which is why it's important to always have face-to-face communications. We all know this. It's best to be in person. Companies spend a ton of money, I'm sure, and Zendesk does as well, to fly people into the same office to communicate for a week or 2 weeks to benefit from each other. And that's not always possible. We work in a really distributed environment. And so always trying to do video conferences like we are here, and then phone, and then email or text, which is sort of down with your chain, but trying to be in person as much as you can. And this really has to do with the algorithm green wheel, which is something that inherently we would understand. 55% of our communication is body language, 38% voice, and only 7 single digits, 7% content. Amazing, right? This is why my kids don't understand me. 59% body language, 38% voice, and 7% content. And this is why emojis and sort of animated GIFs on Slack are super popular, because text alone doesn't actually communicate all of the range of emotions and things that we want to say, but sort of the pictures and the visual and the voice, and then on top of that, the body language can be super helpful. Okay, then there's integrity. This is really being faithful in the small things, shows that you can be faithful in the big things. And I work with a number of mentees who really just want to jump to the big things. They're like, I can prove that I can do this thing. and they don't have a track record of actually proving that they can do the small things and do it faithfully. And so trustworthiness sort of builds over time when people recognize you as someone who keeps your commitment. I said that I was going to do this, and then I delivered. Or if you're happen to be, my background is actually as an Agile coach, so if you happen to be in Scrumland, as soon as your commitment is at risk, you're having a conversation about that commitment. So the integrity is really like owning up to the real commitments of being able to do something over time, shows that when you want to influence someone and express your leadership of trying something new, people believe you because you've done and been successful with small things in the past. And then there's the frequency aspect, which is largely from the mere exposure effect or the familiarity principle, that people tend to develop a preference for things merely because they're familiar with them. And this is why advertisements work, and that's why you have follow ads, right? Like, my husband is a tennis fan, and there are hundreds and hundreds of commercials for Rolexes, and he has a smartwatch with a number of watches, but every once in a while, when watching TV, he's like, oh, maybe I want to get a Rolex. Like, that's why advertisements work, right? So this idea that you have a preference for something just because you're familiar with that. And so how do we build that into a workplace, right? I do a one-on-one check-in with a number of the people that I want to influence, but sometimes, their calendars are too packed for me, or I might just poke into their office and say, hi, I'm Jully, nice to meet you. Is there anything I can do to help you? I might Slack them every once in a while, Slack them regularly. Just want to check in, anything I can help you with? Just so that they know who I am, they know that I'm available, they know my name, they know my role, they know what I'm interested in, and that frequency of just checking regularly gives them an openness and a preference for things that I might be requesting of them in the future. So quantity over quality. And you can think about this, when I was dating my husband, we didn't have very much quality to trying to do anything, but we just wanted to be together all the time, right? That sort of familiarity with preference for wanting to be together. So as much as we often pick the reverse, quality over quantity, I would say also that quantity over quality is just as important. And this last one, I wanted to invite you to think about your own. There are a lot of ways that, these are some of the things that I've collected over time to think about how to build trustworthiness, but there's a number of ways, and I'd love, if I had the opportunity to be there with you in person to hear your stories about how you build trustworthiness in your own personal relationships. So, what's a tech presentation without the Giphy version of all of these? I'm just gonna let this sit for a moment so it can digest. The red on the left are all the competence Giphies, and all the blue on the right are the trustworthy Giphies. I'm happy to share this deck afterwards if you want to enjoy the Giphies a little bit more. They're so good, right? I spent 90% of preparing this deck looking for these, and I had such a good time. And so some of my key takeaways are, you are actually a better influencer than you believe. And really, leadership has a lot to do with influence. Leadership has a lot of risk-taking involved. And as you think about influence as a skill that you can develop, you can increase your competence, you can build your trustworthiness, and actually none of these require money, budget, or title. These are all things that you can work on yourself. These are some of the borrowed experience resources that I used to help build this deck. Some of the books feel like textbooks, but I encourage you to take a look at them and you find many of these interesting. So thank you for your time.
Are you free for any questions, Jully?
Yeah. Do you want to do questions now or at the end? I'm happy to field any questions.
We can do it now because after we'll have to move on to Rosie. So, has anybody got any questions for Jully that they'd like to fire away?
Hey Jully, my name's Carly. I actually worked with you for a very short time while you're still at Turnitin.
Fantastic.
So I wanted to know, because you showed a photo of yourself doing this kind of a talk somewhere else. How did you end up transitioning or getting into speaking publicly about this sort of stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have spent almost all of 2017 and 18 doing this talk, and I'm happy to share with you. Backing up one step, I fully encourage, as women, fully encourage with my whole heart that all of you should aspire to speak at conferences and meetups. I think it's a fantastic way to, one, solidify your beliefs about your craft, but also a huge networking opportunity and an opportunity for you to really become sort of a vocal presence in your sphere of influence or community. How you sort of get into it is a lot of hard work. You have to have a topic that you feel really passionate about and that you spend some time thinking through. You need to go to these events, other events, and you need to build relationships with some of these people who are speakers or event sort of creators or hosts. And once you feel pretty confident, you can do some talks at your work or within a group of friends and really refine your deck. And you actually just need to throw it out there and say, can I be a speaker at your meetup? Or you apply to a conference. So this year, for 2018, I think I applied to 30 conferences, and I got 10 accepts, which is a huge number, right? Like 30%, that's amazing. I was only expecting like 2 or 3. But I think putting yourself out there and just going for it is super valuable. If you, in particular, are interested in some mentoring about how to get your name out there in terms of public speaking and doing these, feel free to reach out to me and my LinkedIn here, and I'm happy to give you some tips. But I fully encourage all women to become more vocal in their workplaces through presentations and meetups or conferences, and as a benefit to yourself, refine your craft, but also become more well-known as sort of SME in your workplace.
Anyone else? No? Everyone's a little shy.
We're all friends!
Well, if anybody thinks of any questions later on, I'm sure Jully will be free to answer them. So that was amazing. Let's give her another little round of applause. Thank you so much, Jully. We definitely feel a lot more inspired after this one. You've definitely given me a lot of food for thought about my own brand, and I'm sure we're all thinking about our own. What I'm going to do, we're going to move on to Rosie. So I'm going to unplug you, but do you need to rush off? Do you need to rush off, Jully, or?
I'm probably going to listen in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, everyone. I'm really feel free to LinkedIn and connect with me if you have questions after the fact. I'm happy to answer them asynchronously. So thanks so much for the invite.
Amazing. Thank you so much again, Jully. That was wonderful. So, moving on.
Cool. I need to plug
You want to plug in your laptop? Yeah.
That's it.
What I'll do is I'll unplug.
I think this is probably charged.
I'll let Rosie get set up. This is should I get one for you? That is a card for you. Oh, jeez. So what I'll do is I'll let Rosie get set up, but I'll do a little introduction of her while she does. So Rosie's going to be talking us through gracefully jumping onto a high-speed train, which is her journey in the tech industry, her experience over 10 years as a tester and now a software developer at ThingCo. So definitely a lot to learn. I'll let you get set up. Okay. I
tidied my desktop like specifically because I knew you'd all be able to see it. Cool, that works. Yeah, hello. My name's Rosie. I work at a company called ThingCo, which is over in Byker, but we're moving very soon to Long Benton. And tonight, basically thank you for Lottie and Will for organising this thing, and also thank you for coming out in the dark and the rain to listen to me tell you this is the story about what's happened to me this year. This year has just been absolutely crazy. So I called my talk Gracefully Moving Onto a Moving Train because this year I became a software developer. So that's basically the story I'm going to tell you tonight. So I started studying my A-levels in like 1998, and I did like computing and maths. And like back at that time, the internet was like quite new. I think I looked at the stats, I think it was only about 9% of households actually had the internet at that time. And I was doing my A-level computing, and because I didn't have the internet at home, and I used to spend a lot of time in the computing room at college because they had the internet at college and the internet was great. So I sit at college and I got interested in HTML and CSS, but like back in those days, it would be like little blink tags to make like text flash and that kind of stuff. So I finished my A-levels and I was like quite passionate about the HTML and like the little GeoCities sites that I'd made, and I had like a Yahoo email address, and I wanted to be a web developer. And I got A-levels in computing and maths, and I set out and I started applying for jobs. And my experience of applying for jobs was that the door just wouldn't open. Like I probably applied for about, I don't even remember now, about 50 odd jobs-ish. And I got one interview, and it was in Scarborough, and I was living in Darlington, and I was like, oh well, I can relocate to Scarborough for this web development job. I can chase this dream. And I didn't get the job. And it was for a football website. And when they told me afterwards, they said, oh, you didn't get the job because it's football and you don't know football. And I was just like, oh. So I still ended up in tech through like a different route. I became a software tester. And then, so what happened, like, if you fast forward in time, I've been a software tester for about 10 years or so, and I kind of thought that if I can't do development stuff and I can do testing stuff, then that's fine, I'll just be the best software tester that I can be instead. And there was one day I had a clash, and I clashed really, really hard with a developer on my team, and it was brutal actually. He made me feel like I was just something that he scraped off his boot, and he made me feel like really low. He spoke to me in quite a derogatory way, and it just made me really, really angry, and it left me feeling like I can do your job. it actually, I don't know what, I still to this day, I don't know what was actually going on in my mind, but I can still remember that moment, and it's like, you think you're so great. It's like, if I just learned all of this stuff, I could do your job better than you. So I kind of like, I think sometimes they say success is a good form of revenge, but I don't know. Anyway, I got this idea into my head, and then I told like all of my friends, hey, I want to be a software developer, and they were like, are you crazy? Are you absolutely crazy? Like, you've got a really good job as a software tester, you've done this for a really long time. And it's like, why would you actually want to put yourself through the pain of becoming a software developer? Like, why? And like, even the company I was working at the time, I was doing this sort of testing job during the day, and my boss in the testing job told me, like, this company only hires the best graduates to be software developers. There's no way you can be a software developer here. They won't let you be a software developer here. And that was just kind of like I guess like the red rag to a bull. Like when somebody tells you like what you can't do, it made me sort of like, it also left me feeling pretty angry as well. But yeah, I just really didn't like being told what I couldn't do. So I ignored everyone, and I started learning Go. So let's see if this works. Okay, this might work. This is an embedded video that I wanted to show you. So Go, you may or may not have heard of it before. It's an open source programming language that enables the production of simple, efficient, reliable software at scale. It's in the tradition of C. It's compiled, strongly typed. If you see it written down, it's normally written as Golang, which is a contraction of Go language, just because if you type Go into a search engine, you're going to get loads and loads of results, but Golang will let you search for it specifically. So why did I start learning Go? The previous year, I'd been working with some developers had told me that Go had a song, and I was like, what, there's a programming language with a song? And they were like, yeah, it's got a song. They sent me the song, and like, so I basically just want to show you like the Go song. Okay. So this might not work, because I think the sounds might come through my laptop, but I'm going to try anyway. I want to just play this thing. I got to click over here. They haven't tested this. No. Any ideas? And presenter mode, how to click on the other screen. Is it over that side? Is it over that side? Is that working? Yeah, there we go. Okay. I'll stop it before it gets on your nerves. Don't hide and seek, don't hide and seek, no pointers that I forgot to bring. Transfer buttons, my mouse too slow. It goes on. It's on YouTube. you can find it. So I was in this testing job, and like I wasn't allowed to write code in my testing job, so I didn't have to write JavaScript, which was the language they were using at work. And instead, they showed me this video, and like it says, Java's verbose, Python's too slow, write in Go. So I was just like, well, yeah, I'll try Go. So I got hold of come on, this. Slides. Come on. I think it's just recovering from the video. I'll see if I can. There we go. So yeah, so the Go mascot is this gopher, and I got hold of this book called The Way to Go. It's available for free online. It's a PDF. I think it's onlineprogramingbooks.com. Way-go. What happened was, like, my testing team said it was agile. And it wasn't. So the first sort of like, we were delivering every week, and for the first 2 or 3 days of the week, there would be nothing to test. Then for the last sort of 2-3 days of the week, there would be everything to test all at once, lots of work, like really, really stressed, get through it as soon as you can. So the work was basically coming in like, no work, big spike of work, no work, big spike of work. So I started working through the examples, because I was like, well, I've got to be here, but you can't actually you have no work for me. There is nothing for me to do at this moment in time. So rather than sitting doing nothing for my thumbs, I started copy typing the exercises from the book. And it got to the point where, like, I finished the book, and I wanted a project. So fortunately, I'm sitting on a team of developers, because I'm working as a software tester, so I start asking for ideas, like what can I build? And they gave me the advice. They said, build something you care about, and if you start something, make sure you finish it. So, because if you pick something you care about, you'll get to the end. So I built a web app to help me practice violin scales. and that was quite fun. And then I found that there was a Go Meetup in Newcastle as well, and I started going to that as well. And what happened at the Go Meetup was really strange, because I thought I was just about to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'd finished the book, I'd completed the book, I typed all the exercises in the book, I'd built a web app. I was feeling like really, really confident. And when I got to this Go Meetup, it basically hit me like this oncoming train, because first of all, I was the only woman there, and I didn't write Go in my day job. This was like, at the moment, this was a hobby. And some of the devs at the Go Meetup, they've been coding for the last 20 years. And it was so intimidating. After the first one, I actually was like, Rosie, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you putting yourself through this? And it's like, these people that write code every day for a living, and it was just like, why would anyone ever hire you to do this stuff? And it was, at the start, it was really, really difficult. But like, it felt like all the other, so it felt like the other devs at the Go Meetup, they were all on this train, and because they were kind of doing it as their day job, they had the luxury of learning at work. And it is a luxury to be learning at work. So I felt like I was walking along the tracks behind this train, which was like already steaming ahead, and all the other devs are on it, learning, and there's me behind it, and I'm not on the train yet, I'm just kind of walking behind, trying to catch up. And basically, it's like, as long as I keep moving forwards, and as long as I keep learning, then I'm not standing still, and I'm making progress. So I basically continued with my quiet coding time at the start of the week on my sort of testing job when there was nothing else to do, and that went on for about 2 years. I started in 2016. When I got stuck, I kept going to the Go Meetups. I would ask the people at the Go Meetups for help if I needed help with anything. I also found there was a Slack channel for Gophers. I could ask questions on there. There's a lot of experience there that would people who were willing to help, basically. The company I was working at the time didn't actually seem to notice or mind that I was writing Go code like during the week. If anything, building sort of web services in Go was actually helping me become better at testing like APIs and web services at work. So it was helping me with my day job. And I even started going to, they had these like, I think they were like back-end interest groups at lunchtime where the developers would come together and they'd sit and watch a video about development and then talk about it. And don't forget, I'm not a developer at this company, but I showed up one time at lunchtime and they were like, okay, and they were kind of like looking at, but they didn't ask me to leave, and I was able to sit there and watch the videos with them and get in on the discussion as well. And so every time the votes came up for the videos, I'd always vote for the ones in Go, and they would be like, but we don't use Go. And it has watched some good ones about Monzo as well. And then it happened. I got onto the train. I got a developer job. It was in January 2018, and this was really, really strange. This wasn't a normal train. This was like a really, really weird train, because the job I'd applied for wasn't a software developer job. I'd applied for a lead tester job. I applied for a senior tester job. And on the first day, it became very apparent that they had very little code to actually test. So they said, oh, well, Rosie, you're a developer now. You can help us write the code. I was like, what? What? Okay. Like, you'll be pairing with other developers, you'll be writing code. And it was all JavaScript, using strict test-driven development. Now, JavaScript is the complete opposite of Go. So everything that I have been studying and learning and like preparing myself for, this job is the complete opposite of all of that. JavaScript is just like no man's land compared to Go. So this it really had a serious impact on me, because I felt like the work was impossible and it was actually causing me a great deal of suffering. I was trying really hard, and like for the first 3 months I would be coming home and just staring at my laptop because it was enforced strict TDD. You had to mock something and then write a failing test for it before I could even write any code. And I felt like an idiot, and I felt worthless, and I struggled lots. And it was just really, really, really hard. And there was a number of problems in this workplace, and it was like the devs didn't recognize me as a developer because I'd been hired as a tester. One of them, he kept calling me a devester. He said, you're basically a tester trying to be a dev, and that's a devester. And I was like, okay. And even on like the company like HR portal, like where you log in and you can book your holidays and stuff, I didn't have a job title on the HR portal. I still don't know why. It was just blank. So the weirdest problem, so out of all that was just the weirdest problem was this group of developers which had been hired to build this stuff. None of them were actually JavaScript developers. So the amount of pairing, so pairing all the time can be exhausting. Imagine trying to explain something that you do know to someone. That's tiring. Imagine trying to explain something you don't know to somebody else that doesn't know it. That's exhausting. So it basically, like, it was getting to the point where I dreaded getting up in the mornings each day because each day felt like it went on forever. My days at work, I either wasn't allowed to contribute or I was left out. Most of my energy was essentially spent on not crying at work. Like that took up like lots of my thought time. The lead Android developer quit after 3 months and 3 days, and then we were left without a mobile developer. And it's fine me just kind of like standing here and just telling you it was awful. And I actually had a few doubts about including the next slide, but I thought, sorry, let's stick it in. This is like an app that I use called Doyenne for like tracking like moods and stuff. And this was June to July of this year, where you can see you've got feeling low, worthless, depressed. I think this boss has quit. That was when the CTO resigned. And then up until July, like stressed, awful. Then I had a job interview, which was feeling relaxed and chilled out, and then I accepted a new job and drank gin. felt great about that. So I passed the interview for a software developer job at a company called ThingCo, which it's a telematics platform for smart devices in cars. I put my notice in, and this new job was like my first Go job, so I really focused on Go during that time. And I built this, and I also, I've been studying with through edX, computer science with HarvardX, for the past year. It took about a year and a half to get through it, but I finished my CS course like while I was in the middle of my notice period, and I got my certificate from Harvard, and that's me with a certificate from Harvard, and I'm so proud of that because I haven't got a computer science degree. And this was my final project that I built for it, which was a brick calculator for some architects, because I found some architects that wanted some software, and I said, well, I could try build that for you. And it takes measurements and brick sizes, and then they have to line all of the measurements up with either full bricks or half bricks. And it can get quite fiddly depending on whether it's an internal joint or an external joint as to how many bricks they need. So I made this. It's all written in Go. Go backend, used templates, hosted on Heroku, and just a tiny little web app. And this was my final project from my Harvard course. So yeah, I feel like a developer now. I have the job title, I have the piece of paper. The piece of paper says Rosie knows how to computer. Yeah. So I'm at ThingCo now. We're building this telematics platform in the cloud, also known as AWS. And we've got fun things like continuous deployment pipelines, and we're using serverless architecture. I tried to draw out one of our continuous deployment pipelines. I don't know if anyone uses AWS or if this makes any sense, but we have a group of devs, and then when we commit stuff through GitHub, it triggers this code pipeline, which then builds the code, puts it into an S3 bucket, which is like a new fancy name for an FTP server. And then it uses this thing called CloudFormation to run up all of the infrastructure that it needs. So we have our API gateway and our Lambda functions, and then we're using Dynamo databases like a storage solution as well. So yeah, the devs I work with now, they are much kinder. They're a bit quieter, but they're much kinder. But things for me, they're difficult before they're easy. And I know that I absolutely must keep learning, and I found that reflection is really helping. So at the end of each day, I will ask myself, what went well today? What did I learn? What can I improve tomorrow? And I've started making peace with JavaScript as well. The Harvard X stuff, where I did my computer science course, they have a mobile development course with React Native, so I'm doing JavaScript. I'm making friends with JavaScript now, which feels very positive. So now for me, it's about, I've managed to get onto this train, I've managed to get my job, and it's shifted to becoming a better developer. And in my opinion, like the only bad developers are the developers that have no interest in getting better. So being a better developer is like really important to me, because I want to do the best job I can for my team and for the users as well. So I was thinking, like, if I had a time machine and if I could go back in time to like right at the beginning, if I could tell myself some stuff, what would I tell myself? Well, surround yourself with people who support you, and when you feel uncomfortable as well, it's a sign of learning. Never let anyone tell you that you can't do it. And also, this is an important one, time is your most valuable resource. So sometimes it's okay to say no if you haven't got the time to do so. Yeah, challenge yourself, but don't be afraid to ask for help. And this is really important. Always be kind, even if other people are not. I could have stood up here and I could have named names, but I didn't. So just always be kind, and that will see you through. And that's the end of my talk. Thank you. I have also got a book to give away, so I don't know if. How you want to do this? Or like a I was thinking this was like in my head beforehand, because I don't know if anyone's actually interested in the book or not. I was thinking if anyone would like to enter into the draw for the book, if you stand up, then we can give everyone standing up a number and then go to random.org and pick a winning number. Yeah? Okay, great. Anyone else? It's not a trap. Okay, so we'll go from left to right. So you can be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I don't know if I can get random.org open on here. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from left to right. Okay. I'm going to there we go. So we want a minimum 1, maximum 5. Yeah. 3. It is you actually. It's not one from my bookshelf. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Rosie? She's spoke about or anything?
That guy who called you an investor, what did you call him?
Yeah. Oh, he was a strange guy actually. I probably shouldn't.
He wasn't your mentor, was he? Because you could have called him a dementor.
No, he was very shy and very introverted. But like I've learned to what's the word? Control my responses to things. There's a thing, I think they call it like, is it death by 1,000 pinpricks, where it's not like a single event which like will like really upset you. It's kind of like long sustained periods of like lots and lots of little things. So I try I try not to take. First of all, I try not to take anything personally at all. Like I try not to look for reasons to be upset as well. Because this is the thing, if you're working in a really male-dominated workplace, and you look for reasons to be offended, upset, or look for things that are unfair, or if you start looking for that stuff, you're going to find it everywhere. So I just try to breathe, stay calm, and just not look for things that upset me. And silence is actually really, really powerful as well. This is one thing so the devs I work with at the moment are completely introverted. I'm lucky if one of them says hello in the morning when I come in. But you don't have to fill the air all the time with talking. And I found that sometimes I will just say what I mean and then say nothing, and that can be quite positive as well, because then it doesn't turn into an argument. But yeah, so I didn't call him out for calling me on Divesta. I was just I'll sit there quietly and roll my eyes. Okay. Oh,
just from a similar sort of standpoint, which is I came from web development to software development, and what I'm interested in, I guess, is how much time. I spent a hell of a long time thinking what language I should learn and researching. So I guess, was it genuinely just that video that gave you the push to go, I'm going to go with Go?
It was shiny and new, and it was. I googled it and I found it was 25 times faster than Python. At the time, there was a lot of example stuff in Python.
It's interesting that you came at it from a performance point of view and not a how many people are employed working in.
Oh no! If I wanted to pick the language which was most sort of widely used, then I probably would have gone with JavaScript or something like that. But at the time, I guess it was still. I never really imagined, because going to the meetups and stuff, I never actually at that point imagined anyone would actually give me a job. So I was just well, I'm going to be a tester, it's alright, I can do the testing thing. But that doesn't mean, just because I'm a tester, doesn't mean I can't learn code. So I just picked what was, and it was really fun.
It's just what appealed to you,
it's what's, you have to actually be interested in it, otherwise you'll stop. So if you're interested in it and you're curious about it, and for me, it was not many people, it wasn't as widely known, so, but it was kind of interesting, but it was it was new, and that was the thing for me, it was new, so it didn't come with baggage, it didn't come with the baggage of the older languages. So, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I was just wondering, so at the moment I'm learning JavaScript,
okay,
and I'm hoping to kind of get into a job where I can train at the beginning, and I was just wondering what the interview process is like.
The interview process, okay. So I have only ever had 2 interviews as a developer. One was way back for the football website, and the other one was for the startup that I was at. I can tell you about the recent interview with ThingCo. I rocked up with my laptop, answered some questions about serverless AWS, told them what I'd been working on at the previous place. And then I asked them if they'd like me to write some code. They said no. I was okay. And it was just quite straightforward. It was just a sort of face-to-face interview. And then I got a call that evening, and I accepted the job. It was very, very fast, actually. The other startup I was at, where they were doing JavaScript, I interviewed for a testing job there. That was just an informal chat. Interview was in a coffee shop, actually. I had 2 interviews with 2 different people. They asked me about testing. I told them about testing. They gave me a testing job. It wasn't a testing job. So, but yeah, I think the most important thing for interviews is probably to prepare and, like Jully was saying, appear competent and trustworthy. So I was very honest in my interview at ThingCo when they said, so how much have you done? I was well, I've been doing some JavaScript since January, and I didn't lie, so don't lie,
Do
okay?
you have a portfolio or?
I have a GitHub account,
Okay.
so I've got code on GitHub. So my project for my computer science course and like my violin. So my violin web app, which I wrote in 2016, they would have seen like all of that. And I think possibly there's a shortage of Go developers at the moment because they seem very impressed that I had written Go code before, and I think they were struggling to find anyone which had written any Go code. So yeah. So I would say get a GitHub account as well, because for some reason people like GitHub accounts. They like looking at them. Yeah, and build things that you can talk about and you can show and you can be passionate about as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I can imagine that your experience with testers sort of can be really helpful with the stuff as well. Have you got any examples of where that?
It's like naming things. So like as a tester, writing all these like really verbose like long bug reports, I feel like I have a lot of language skills, which some of the more introverted team members, like especially like we have an apprentice at the moment who is almost like a little bunny in headlights, and so it was quite interesting seeing his experience from being someone that's brand new. But I feel like coming up with sensible names for things is actually a pretty tough skill for some people. So I feel like that testing stuff's helped with that. Also, I'm a real big fan of like test-driven development too. So like some of the stuff I've been working on recently didn't have any unit tests around it. So I was like, this isn't good enough. And I sat for 2 weeks and retrofitted a whole load of unit tests around it. And at the time I got told, what was it? I don't know why you're doing that, you're just making code look pretty. Or something like that. It was some comment about making code look pretty. I was like, well, I need the unit test to do my job. So shush. But the CTO messaged me a few days ago and said that it was much better now. So I wrote like 2 little helper packages which mocked out a database and one mocked out like a Kinesis stream. And he'd actually copied and pasted those packages onto something else he was working on to like mock out the database. So that was pretty cool. So I feel like having been in the situation, seeing the pain and suffering that no unit tests will eventually inevitably cause, I kind of like now I'm on the other bit, like the actual way you've got right access to the code base. I have less fights. I have less fights because it's like I don't tell people to do stuff anymore. I can just do it myself, and they can't undo. They don't tell me off for doing it. So. Sorry, very good. Okay. Anything else? No.
Rosie, back.